Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are crime dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 2. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So obviously a big thing for Tina this episode is that she was kind of flipping back and forth of not sure whether or not she wanted to stay here in Tulsa, and she's considering it because it's like, well, what's really left for me in New York? Plus Dad's here, but now she is scared of, well, because this whole trial thing, he could end up getting locked away. And even Joanne says, like, yeah, you do that. If he does that again, it's going to break Tina. So he's got to make sure he doesn't go away. In fact, she was trying to suggest that he takes a deal, and he's like, no deal. Because I think there's an element of, once again, he's a, old school mafioso. Like, it's like, yo, you hold it down. You don't make any deals, no rats, no snitching, no doing anything like that. Because cutting the deal is in that same vein, right? So there's a little bit of that. I think there's also a little pride of, yo, I'm not going to spend a single day in prison, so I'm not making any deals. But he ended up relinquishing on that later on because of what his sister said. So, I mean, it's kind of nice, though, like here in Tulsa, he's got his entire family with him, granted, which can blow up in his face considering he's dealing with attacks on two fronts. Because Cal has got, like, the district attorney handling his case, has him handling Dwight's case directly. That was more his insertion doing that on his own, being like, hey, I'll see that he actually goes away because Cal does not want any competition. Even the district attorney dude's like, yeah, but your enterprise is so big, like Dwight's basically a pimple on your ass. But for him, it's like, no, I don't even want to, I want him to know his place. There's an order of things, and it's like, I'm born with this insight to kind of see things for a certain way. He's not. It's like he's this run-of-the-mill gangster. And so the problem is, underestimating Dwight like that is going to come back to bite him, obviously. But for now, he's orchestrating all of this. Plus, he also set loose, Frank Grillo's character, was it Balakwa? I'm probably butchering that, but he's coming after Dwight now because it's like, oh, you're stepping in my territory, which I guess Dwight wasn't even aware this was his territory, because even Cheeky was kind of like, Tulsa, because I guess it's like they didn't think this fell into his territory, like when they sent him here, when they sent Dwight here last season, but I guess they weren't, I mean, the plan wasn't really for Dwight was supposed to earn and send back home, but like he's carved out his own industry, his own group, his own people. So I guess that's where you kind of have that, like, I mean, maybe Cheeky's dad would have probably known that if Cheeky hadn't like basically grabbed the reins of the throne and kind of took it upon himself, So, because probably like as the head of his family, he probably should know like who runs what territory. So, but the fact is, his dad sent Dwight there in the first place must mean like they must not have expected him to step on Frank Grillo's character's like territory or whatever. Because why is that only an issue now, despite Dwight having been here for a while? But the only reason why he's even on, because it's still a small operation no matter what. But the only reason why it's on, like I said, I think it's political. Like the only reason why it's on his radar now is because of Cal. So. And that's only because now Dwight has gotten Cal's attention, and now he got Frank Grillo's character's attention. So, like I said, it's because of Cal. There's like it's like a pincer attack. There's an attack on both, like it's a war Dwight has to deal with on two fronts. On the legal side of things and then the non-legal side of things. So how he handles it is going to be interesting, especially considering he's representing himself in court. He's learned a little bit in jail. You spent 20 plus years in prison. You take time to read. You pick up some things. You learn where your lawyer messed up and where he should have done better. But you even see later on, Dwight is hitting the books. So would he be better off getting a good lawyer? I wonder, is it going to be someone in the group? Like, I could have sworn there was a lawyer in the group. Like, amongst Dwight's people. I could have sworn someone was a lawyer, but maybe I'm full of shit. But I feel like that's got to come up at some point, that someone's going to end up, like, it's not going to be, who knows? Maybe all the way through is going to be Dwight representing himself. So that's going to be interesting. That's the thing. He is charming and very charismatic. So I'm sure that's going to go a long way in playing into things, especially when Bodhi's trying to create a program to pick, like, okay, what kind of jurors we want, single or divorced or widowed women from 35 to 67. It's like, well, guys, are very much kind of like anyone that's had a traffic ticket or whatever, anyone that kind of has a hard on for, like, against the authority. But Dwight's like, yeah, but you can't count on guys. Guys kind of like, you can't always count on them. Women, that's where we're going to aim for. So we'll see how that process plays out. I'm very excited to see, like, the jury selection process and see how Dwight handles that and what the jury ends up being. I mean, you could be resourceful enough. I'm sure you could get someone from your side of things, your side of the pond, on the jury. I mean, I don't know if you could manipulate that, but I don't think it's going to be that easy. But that's also another way. It's like somehow managing to get someone on your team and that's on your side inside the jury, I think inside man in that capacity, probably wouldn't be easy, but I think it is doable. But I'm only basing that because of the TV show Leverage. They were able to kind of sneak Parker on the. Well, they actually didn't, because I forgot, like, that was one of Parker's fake identities, got called for jury duty, and they kind of told her to do it, and she ended up stumbling across a case for them. So it's like, never mind, that was a different situation. I don't know, we'll see. I'm spitballing here. It's unlikely, but there's still the possibility of somehow doing that. I guess you could always go the route of, well, whoever does get selected, you pay them off, or you kind of do some jury tampering. So we'll see how that fares for Dwight in court and what the actual court proceedings are like and stuff like that. Especially because the inevitability, he's going to cross-examine Stacy on the stand, so that's going to be really interesting. And the question then becomes like, well, how does Dwight handle that? Does he kind of bring up their relationship? Because that ended up being a thing of, Dwight's like, yeah, have you ever heard? Would you believe that I've never been accused of being romantic? And Bodhi's like, yeah, I have. I do. I don't find that hard to believe, or something like that. So. We had the group trying to come up with a way to make some extra money. It's like Tyson and Armin, which I love. Like, Armin's talking about this one time, like, oh, you don't want to, like, try and, like, rig a horse race, because he bet this guy and had the jockey like take the fall and everything. But the problem is, just as he's pulling on the reins, apparently like a gopher or a mole or something popped up, scared the horse, and it ran and won. So that blew up in his face. So it's like, nah, we're not going down that route again. So you have Tyson suggest, like, yo, let's go steal some converters. So him, Armin, Mitch, I think it's Fred, Clint, and Grace go steal from Donnie, the car salesman. And the reason why is because Tyson's like, yeah, he would sell me a car because I look like a criminal. And then Grace is like, so you're showing him by doing exactly what he called you. And then Tyson's like, okay, I see what you did there. So yeah, they're just cutting those converters off. And I love, like, is it Fred or Frank? I can't remember. But I'm mixing up his name. I can't remember if it's Fred or Frank. But I love the whole thing of he's trying to get under the vehicle. And I was like, fat guy struggle. And Mitch is like, how about you just stand guard? And he's like, cool. So they stole a whole bunch. I love that he comes to Dwight later on. It's like, yeah, someone stole like half of a whole bunch of our converters. And then he looks to Tyson, Mitch, and Armand kind of gives him the wink. And it's like, all right, Donnie, let me see what we could do. We could give you back half of your converters, and we'll find out who's responsible. And you're gonna need, some protections. It's like, if we can lend you some dogs to keep out there at night and stuff like that. And even Mitch is like, are we really going to give half of them back? Why are you doing that? And Dwight's like, I actually kind of feel bad for the guy. He seems like a good enough guy. So they ultimately end up giving him half his converters back. But then, Mitch, I love the whole situation of like, oh, you must be an actor or something, because I see those commercials are really good. He's like, oh yeah, I played so-and-so in high school once. He's like, see, I've got an eye for it. So it's like trying to say like, oh, the business ain't that great, right? Well, you can always sell it to someone. So once again, just Dwight trying to get his hands on any type of legitimate businesses to kind of expand his empire. We see just, which I think is going to be interesting considering, like, well, he couldn't get the 7.5 he wanted from the bank, which I love. He sat down and tried to get like a loan for that, and they had to bring, like, Jorge had to bring in his boss Karen, which Karen was like, no, we can only go up to 3 million, which is like, hey, that's a start, but then you have to fill out all this paperwork, come up with a plan. And I love that he's like, wow, that is the longest no I've ever come across, Karen. And he's like, no, I get it. Thomas Edison comes in here. He's like, oh, I got this light bulb and it'll change the world, Karen. You're just like, I'm sorry, you don't qualify, Tommy. She's like, even if it was Thomas Edison, he'd still have to apply by the rules. And he's like, yeah, but then we'd still be living in the dark. And I was like, oh, God, you got such a way with words, Dwight. I love it. That just whole soliloquy he went on with that anecdote. And I love that only thing Tyson was happy about was like, oh, wait, I get a free mug and a mouse pad? He was more so focused on, yo, I need that free mug. And he's like, yeah, came here for 7.5 mil. We walked away with a mouse pad and a coffee mug, you know. But hey, I'm backing Tyson. Free is free. You know, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? So, but it started because Dwight visited Harlan in prison, which he's getting transferred to Illinois. Because I brought this up like episode 1. I was like, are we gonna like have something? It's like, well, he's going away for 8 years. Dwight's got his own like legal issues. I don't think he's in a position to help Harlan with his. So it's like, what do we, you know? But I was thinking like, oh, is Harlan going to be part of the crew? But it's like, no, you just hijack his plan. In fact, you're going to sell him your wind turbines, and it's like, and the whole operation. So it's like, yeah, I'll give you 7.5 mil. They'll go a pretty long way buying some security and some goodies on a commissionary. So it's like, oh, Harlan accepts the deal and everything. So, but that's where Dwight needs his 7.5 mil, which he walked away this episode not having that. So I'm curious to see, I mean, I guess what they're going to probably end up doing is like maybe using some of these businesses to kind of rack in that capital, maybe. I don't know. They brought up like using homes as collateral or something like that was what Karen was saying. I was like, oh, I hope they're not going to use that money like that Tina's going to spend to like get the house. Because she wanted to kind of wait for the trial. But Dwight said, no, you know, I don't, because I think there's an element of, I want to lock you down here in Tulsa. Because if you're still, at least that'll solidify a little bit more of you being more okay with staying here. But if you're not locked down, if you're not staying, like if you don't have a home here, you're more likely to kind of decide to go back to New York. So I don't want to wait that long for your mind to potentially change. So I love the special guest star of Jelly Roll. The moment Grayson was coming in and said Jelly Roll, I was like, wait, that Jelly Roll? And it's like, of course it would be. I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. This actually is the first time I've ever heard of Jelly Roll, so I'm familiar enough with Jelly Roll. Like, I know some of his backstory. I don't know everything, but like I know he's going to prison, and I think, you know, he found religion when he was in prison. Like quite a few people have, and obviously has become a pretty big star musically and stuff like that. So I'm aware of Jelly Roll. I just think this is the first time I've ever, like, the song he plays in the episode, and it's also used in the end credits, but during the credits. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard a Jelly Roll song that I'm aware of. Maybe I have come across something before. As you know, I think he's classified as country. It sounded like it could have been a country song. Country's just not my cup of tea. I make exceptions every once in a while, but it's not a genre I actively go out of my way to listen to. But sometimes I've come across country songs that I've really liked. It's just, you know, it is what it is. But it's not a genre of music I go out of my way to like look into deeply. So that's why Jelly Roll's music has never probably like ever entered my algorithm in any shape or form like that. So either way. I mean, the song I heard, like they used in the episode, I really like it. It sounds really good. The little bit of it we've gotten, but it sounds really nice, and I actually am interested. I didn't take a chance to listen to the full song before starting this recording, but I'm more inclined to check it out now, just having heard it. So, but yeah, either way, I just thought that was kind of nice, and I love the little back and forth where Dwight's like, "Oh, you're jellyfish." He's like, "Oh, close enough," and he's like, oh yeah, you've been to prison. It's like, yeah, and it's like the whole back and forth, and then the whole, he's like, no, I'm a janitor. You won't believe what you find when you're like sweeping up at a concert, and he puts it like, lays it down, and you're like, Dwight's like, okay, I just got played. I got egg all over my face, don't I? And they're like, yeah, everyone was laughing because he had no idea who Jelly Roll is, but it's like, hey, Dwight's in his own little world. So plus he's been locked up for 25 years, didn't really hear too much about the outside world, so. Old man stuck in his ways type of situation plays a part to all of that as well. I also love that Dwight ended up having to spend time at Tyson's place because it's like, well, no other hotel, plus all the reporters and everything like out front. The FBI is one thing, but the reporters were just another thing he didn't want to deal with. So he ended up spending the night at Tyson's place. His mom is so very much like, oh, Tyson said you like pancakes. Come on, get some pancakes. And his dad's not too receptive, obviously. He kind of let a lot of stuff slide, obviously, last season. But he's, especially when it's like, wait, I get egg whites. He gets bacon and regular eggs, which I love that whole bit considering Mitch tried to make him eat healthier early in the episode. And he ended up giving it to Bigfoot. He's like, yo, you like egg whites? And Bigfoot's like, I like everything. I was like, oh, I love that whole bit. And just his father just being, but Tyson's dad just being so pissed. Like, you know what? I'm going to go to some real work and leave. So it's like, yeah. I mean, granted, it's like you got to respect the guy. He stands 10 toes down about his beliefs, and also like he came through last season. So when shit hit the fan, so it's like he's a ride or die, and he can come through when the time comes. So it's like he's not too keen on all of this, but I love that Tyson's mom is not too mad about the whole situation. I think it's interesting because the episode ends with one of the last things in the episode is Dwight seeing like, oh, it's like what was it like? It's like some Chinese gangs are infiltrating like the U.S. weed business. Because Dwight did go see the district attorney earlier in the episode and try to strike a deal, but he was like, no, jail time is a non-starter. There's like, you're going to have to sell her some jail time. And he saw like a check or something signed from Cal, so he knew what time it was. So I don't know if he's thinking like, okay, so maybe there's a little more at play here or what. Like, I don't know what he pulled from that, whether it's like, okay, my business could be in danger because of this, or I could use this to my benefit against Cal, or maybe he's thinking like Cal has this type of backing, like because he's in his business and he's operating on such a level. I mean, we know he's got his connections to Frank Grillo's character, but maybe there's other illicit elements to his, weed business as well. Maybe I'm not sure what that last scene with Dwight, what that's supposed to necessarily infer. Probably because I didn't pay as much attention to like the title of what he was kind of focusing on, but I thought that's what I mean. But like I said, it still could feel like it could go any one of those ways in particular. But the final scene actually is Chicky calling up Goody and offering him a way out. It's like, all you have to do is side with me and take down Dwight. Frank Grillo's character is rolling through and you overstepped your boundaries. Basically, I'm going to join with him. Essentially, it's kind of like the KC mob, essentially. It's like, well, we're going to join forces with them and then take down Dwight, and then you will be good, you'll be alive, and you'll be working under me, reporting directly to me. And Goody's like, all right, give me time to think about it. So part of me is like, I'm not sure if Goody's actually going to side with Chicky, or is he just going to play the long game? He might actually legitimately spend the time weighing his options, because I guess he never told Dwight about Jerry, but Jerry might have been a friend for Goody and Chicky, but that might not be anyone that Dwight really knows. Which also, I was kind of under the impression like Frank Grillo's character knew Dwight. Doesn't seem like it. He's familiar with the family Dwight's from. He knows Chicky's dad and stuff like that. That's why, Chicky was like, yo, you didn't call to pay your condolences when my dad died, or to pay respect with me becoming the new boss. Which Frank Grillo's kind of like, yeah, whatever, let's cut the bullshit and get down to brass tacks. So, and as we know, Chicky's not the type to deal well with disrespect. But also, it's like, I think Frank Grillo's character is like strong enough to be like, yo, like, you can't really say anything. You're the new boss. You don't want to go to war with me. That's why you're siding with me to go after Dwight, because it's a win-win situation. You get on his good graces. You help him deal with the thorn in his side. He, as he said, he wants to send a message, which we never got that this episode, but I guess that's going to be coming down the pike at some point in time. So, but back to the goodie of it all, like I said, this could be a long con, but like I said, I don't think he's told Dwight about Jerry, but like I said, who knows if there's any connection there. But also, he didn't immediately call Dwight at the end of the episode. He put the phone down, was kind of thinking about it. So maybe he does think about it, and then he calls Dwight, and we the entire time are left unsure which side Goody's going to take, and in actuality, he's been siding with Dwight the entire time. We could see that easily be the case, which I feel like that's most likely going to be the outcome, but there's also a part of my brain that's like, nah, Goody's going to be found out to be the rat that he is, because he's going to side with Chicky and gets blasted. The fact is that Chicky killed your friend. I think you're going to be a little more like, nah, fuck Chicky, and I'm going to like enjoy like going against you. We'll see. We'll see whether there's any headway with Goody next episode on which way the wind is blowing, for him. So very, very interesting developments. I'm excited to ultimately see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.